Hello everyone, and a very good morning. This is an lecture on tokens, data types, input or output mechanisms that we actually use in Python programming. So, uh, so let us begin with a brief introduction about the module. The purpose of the module is to provide an insight about tokens, data types, and input-output functions that are and can be used for Python programming. Okay. Uh, before discussing uh, Before discussing tokens and data type, let us discuss some key terms like lexical structure. The lexical structure of a programming language is a set of basic rules that governs how you write programs in that language. So it is the lowest level syntax of language and specifies such things as what variable name look like and which characters denote comments. So we will see what are variables and what are comments in this video. But let us assume that there are certain terms which have special meanings, and the system or the interpreter of the language or the compiler of the language should know those meanings. Each Python source file, like any other text file, is a sequence of characters. So you write number of characters. These characters can be alphabets, these characters can be special characters, these characters can be numbers or anything else. You can also usefully consider it as sequence of lines, tokens or statements. Python is a very particular about program layout, especially with regards to lines and indentations. So we don't have braces to signify a block of data in Python. Okay, like in other languages like C, C++, and Java, you use braces to signify the start and end of a block of data. We don't use the same in Python. What we use here is we use indentations. Indentation means spacing. Generally, we will see what is indentation when we do some programming. But as of now, understand that indentation is very important in Python, and if you miss the indentation, the code won't work. Uh, the second thing is Python is program is composed of sequence of logical lines, each made up of some more physical lines. Okay, so you write some physical lines, and those lines should be related to each other in a logical manner. We use a special symbol which is known as hash, okay, to denote a comment. Okay, so we will see, we will do one program, we will write certain code here, we will tell you what is a comment and how it actually works. A hash sign that is not inside a string literal begins a comment. All characters after the hash and up to the physical line end are part of the comments, and the Python interpreter ignores them. So that means if you start writing a line of code and you put a hash in before that line, the interpreter will won't read that particular line. Okay, for interpreter that line doesn't exist. In Python, the end of a physical line marks the end of the most of the statements. So we don't use any terminators, okay, terminating symbols like semicolons or any other type of symbols to signify the end of a line. If you write a line, the line ends, it is done. Okay. Sometimes we use colons when we use loops. When we use if statements, we actually use colons to signify that this command has not ended. It has certain section of code beneath it. Okay. Uh, Now tokens can be of five times. Tokens are the smallest unit of a data. That means they signify certain characteristics, certain values to the interpreter. So there are five type of tokens. One is called identifiers. The other is called keywords. The next is called operators, and then delimiters and literals. Okay. So we will go one by one. So an identifier is the name used to identify a variable, function, class, module, or other objects. So when you name certain entities in a program, it is known as variable. Okay. These are user-defined names consisting of arbitrary sequence of letters and digits. So you can use your own name, or you can write any name of your choice But there is a certain rules. The rules say that an identifier starts with the letter A to Z in caps or small, or an underscore. Okay, followed by zeros or more literals, underscores or digits 0 to 9. Python does not allow punctuation characters such as ampersand, dollars, percentage within the identifier. So you don't use such thing in within an identifier. So if I actually write a code here, if I say that if I write a, right, and a is equal to 1, so what it means, I am assigning the value a1 to the variable called a, right? So if I enter it, the prompt give me a blank prompt. That means this a is equal to 1 was executed successfully. Now if I write a and hit enter, I am asking the interpreter that what is the value of a. So the interpreter knows that the value of a is 1, so it will print 1. Okay, it will print 1. Now if I want to write a variable 1a is equal to 1, what is the error it displays? It says that invite decimal literal. That means I cannot use a digit to create as a first place in the identifier. Okay, I cannot use a digit in the first place as an identifier. But if I use underscore a is equal to 1, it allows me, and if I write underscore a, it gives me the value 1. Okay, so you saw that you can use any character from a to z in caps or in small, or you can use underscore to name an identifier, but you cannot use uh, something like this. Okay, you cannot use any special character or digits in an identifier. I hope that is clear. So let's move ahead with the next topic, that is keywords. So keywords are identifiers that Python reserves for special syntactic use. That means they are certain words that you cannot use as an identifier. Okay, you cannot, why you cannot use? Because they have certain meanings. They have certain syntactical meanings which you will not adhere to. So if I want to use this word and, I cannot use it, right? It is not a sentence and, like it is an and is an operator, logical operator. So I cannot use it. That's why return, lambda, from, del, there are 32 or 35 keywords. It keep on increasing as the version of the Python, it keep on increasing. So in 3.8 it was 35, now in 3.12 it might be more than 35. So there are certain set of words which are reserved for special syntactical use, and you cannot use them in the sense you want to use other than what they are defined for. Okay, so they are known as keywords. Now next comes the operators. Operators are symbols that trigger an action and perform operations when applied to a variable or other objects. The data items on which the operators act upon are called operands. So if I write here uh, a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 2, and I write c is equal to a plus b, that means what I am doing, this plus here is an operator, and is operating upon the value of a and b. So a and b are called as operand, and plus is the operator. Okay, so once it solves, it replaces the value of a by 1 and b by 2, so it will be 1 plus 2, that is 3. So c is equal to 3 is the new equation. In that new equation, c is the operand and 3 is the operand, and is equal to is the operator. The operator say they assign the value of 3 to c, and then I hit enter. If I write c, it will give me 3. Okay, this is how it actually works. The Python uses non-alphanumeric characters and characters combinations as operators. So there are certain set of operators written here. The plus, minus, multiply and divide are simple things, and then we go for this symbol which is generally called as percentage, but in programming or in mathematical terms they are known as modulus. Okay, what modulus does is, modulus does a special function that it returns the remainder of a division. This is a power of function. That means if you want to write 3 to the power of 2, you can use 3, you can write it like this. So if I go and tell you like this, if I have a value called 4 and if I say divide by 2, I won't get 2, I will get 2.0, right? Why? Because it gives me a floating point number. 2.0 is a floating point number because it's a decimal number. Now if I want the only the integer part, what I need to do is I have to use division by floor. Okay, division by floor actually give me the integer part. So we will see these operators when you can refer to the video upon available on YouTube. I will share the link also in the description where we have discussed about operators in detail. But understand these operators generally are used to trigger certain type of data values. They perform some functions and compute some values. Okay, and now if I want to do 3 to the power of 3, right, it give me 9 27. 3 3 is 9, 9 3 is 27. So it's this is the power of function. Now this is the left shift, right shift, logical and, logical or, logical not, and rest of the functions are there. Okay, that's how the operators are there. We will see all these operators when we discuss operators in Python, or you can click the link of the video and you can read more about operators in Python. Then we are having certain thing called delimiters. Delimiters uses they are symbols or combination of symbols in expressions that represent list, dictionaries, various aspects of statements, strings, among others. So if I write parenthesis, and within parenthesis if I write something, so if it is some values, they represent tuple. When I write something within the angular bracket, it represents a list, and when I write something in within braces, it represents the set. Okay. Likewise, plus is equal to means add a number and update the variable. So if I do it like this, if the value of a was 1 above, and I say a plus is equal to 2, it will give me, if I write a here, it will give me 3. What it does is what? It takes the value of a, right? What it actually does, it, oh, I cannot write it. Plus a plus is equal to 2. What it actually does, it is equal to a is equal to a plus 2. Okay, this is what it does. Now the value of a will be 5. Okay, what it does, a value was 3, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So they are certain delimiters and they are the augmented assignment operators also. They do certain special features. Now literals generally are those things which actually belong to the category of numbers. They are by floating points or the complex numbers or strings. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so a literal is a number or a string that appears directly in the program. Okay, the following are the literals. We can see here is 42 is the integer literal, 3.14 is a pi value which is a floating point literal, 1.0 j is an imaginary literal because it has a value called a special symbol called j with the floating point. And then I have a single quote word called hello. It is a string literal. Double quote also represents a string literal, and a triple quote also represents a particular string literal only. Now, when I have already told you that when I enclose any data values within this angular bracket, they are known as list. When I enclose it within a parenthesis, it is known as tuple. And when I enclose the same in form of angular bracket like braces, it is and in the form of a key value pair, this is known as dictionary. If I don't use the key value pair, it is known as sets. Now in this representation, x is the key and 42 is the value. Likewise, y is the key and 3.14 is the value. So where we use dictionaries, we can use dictionary when we want to implement student roll numbers in a name type of act, like record. When we create a record, likewise I put a roll number as a key or a name as a value, suppose, then I will enter the roll number, it will give me the name. When I enter a roll number, it will give me the name. So I will map a roll number with the name, key with the value. So this is how actually the dictionaries are implemented. So there are various type of data types that are used in Python. We generally go for integers and floating points, and we generally don't use in this lab complex numbers. So integers, literals are a decimal, octal or hexadecimal. We will limit ourselves with decimal numbers, but they can be octal or hexadecimal numbers as well. So a decimal number represents something from 0 to 9, and an octal represents from 0 to 7, and hexadecimal represents from 0 to 9 and A to F. Floating point numbers generally are for literals which have a decimal point, and they have extended value as well. And we don't use complex numbers here, but you can read about these complex numbers if you are interested to learn how we represent complex numbers. Now this is what we have actually seen right now in the shell prompt, where we define an x is equal to 3, a variable with the integer value 3. So you assigned x with the value 3. What you do, you create a variable y and you increase the value of y 3 times x, right? So the y value will be 9. Then you assign a value 5.6 to z. In Python, we don't declare a floating variable or an integer variable. The value you assign to a variable defines the type of the variable. Suppose 5.6 is the value of z, so z is a floating point variable. Okay. When I do y is equal to 3, x is the integer variable. Now we use certain input and output commands to take an input from the user and give an output to the console or a shell. Okay, so the function is called input, that used to take the data from the user. So if I write here name is equal to input bracket, enter your name, and I close it. Okay, so this input is a function, and this is a string that you want the user to see on the console. So when this command will be executed, what it happens here is this thing will be displayed on the screen, and the cursor will be blinking after this particular colon. Okay, so let us hit enter. It says enter your name, and the cursor blinks after the colon. The cursor blinking means that the system is waiting for you to enter the name. Suppose it enters Ajay. Okay, this is the name. Now when I hit enter, where will this Ajay goes to? Which variable is assigned to? The variable name will be taking this value. So this Ajay word or this name will be assigned to this variable called name. Okay, so if I hit enter, nothing comes back. Now if I want to write name, it will give me single quote Ajay. That means this is a string. This is a string, and this is the variable which actually holds this name called Ajay. Okay, so this is how you actually take data from the user. If I say take a data from the user and display it in that particular command, you can do it using input commands. Now one thing to understand is this input is actually a string type of it reads a string. Okay, so if I write a variable a is equal to input, enter the value of a, and I copy it, I write 3 here. Then I want to write another input called b, and I read it into a variable called b. Okay, So I write enter a value of b as 4. Now what I do, I want to add them up, a plus b. Okay, so at this point, what will be the value of c? This is what I need. What will be the value of c, right? So you can see that the value of a was 3, value of b was 4, the value of c should be 7. But when I hit enter, I will see something which is not as per what I expect. It is 34, and that too in double quote, in a single quote. That means the value that I am reading in form of a is I am entering an integer, but because this is an input function, it will make this integer as string and assign to a. Now this a is not a literal in integer literal, it is string literal. Now likewise b holds a value 4, but it is not a integer literal, it is a string literal. So when you have string on both the sides of this plus operator, the operator won't do automatically add these two things, it will put them side by side. So it is known as concatenation of the strings. So it will write 3 and 4 together. So what we need to do, how we are going to change this into 7, then what we need to do is we need to change the data type. In the data type, so what we do, we will do typecasting. So we will put an integer here. So what we are doing is we are reading this value, right, from the user, that is 3, right? We will use the same value 3, but before assigning it to a, we change the data type from a string to integer and then assign it to a. So if I write it here, it will ask me the same value. I will enter 3, but the value of a now is not in single quote, it will be in without a single quote, it will be a literal, integer literal. Likewise, if I write this, if I take the same expression here for b and I put int function, then what it will do, it will again take the value and I will say c is equal to a plus b, and I print c, it will give me 7. Okay. So input, this example actually tells you that the input value, if you use input function, it will read a string. When you want to convert an input function into integer or float value, then you have to use a keyword called int or input in keyword called float to convert a value accordingly. Okay, so we have seen this example, and you can read this thing as well. Now print is one of the option that actually prints the value. So if I want to print the value of c, so I will add print c, so it will print the value c, the latest value that I have. So print is the simple value that you want to print. Or if you want to print a statement along with c, you can write in double quotes, the value of c is, so this is a string, and now what is the value, you can print it here. The value of c is 7. The value of c is a string which is written in double quotes, so it will print as it is, and then it will print the value whatever it has for the c. Okay, so you can use print in many fashion. Now this is a simple program for Celsius conversion of Celsius to degree Fahrenheit. So what it does, it will read the value of Celsius from the input function, input enter temperature in Celsius. Now when I read only through input, whatever will happen, it will read in the string, right? Now I don't want string, I cannot do addition on the string. So what I will do is I cannot do this calculations. So I need to change this input into float, because the temperature can be in float. So I do the conversion of float and then assign the value into the Celsius variable, right? Now once I have in Celsius variable, I can use the formula Celsius multiplied by 1.8 plus 32. This is a standard formula for converting Celsius into Fahrenheit. Okay, once I done this, I had a Fahrenheit value, I have a Celsius value, I want to print the conversion. So I will write print and I will write Celsius, right? So if I copy this program here, one line by line for you. So if I write it here, oh, I cannot copy this. Then enter the temperature in Celsius. So if I enter, suppose, what is the value? 40. If I enter 40, so the Celsius value now is 40. Okay. Now it will not be, if I write it here Celsius, it will give me 40.0. Okay, because it is the floating point value, that's why it's going 40.0. So this is the Celsius value. Now what I do, I will convert this into Fahrenheit. So it has converted into Fahrenheit. If I want to use Fahrenheit, it will give me 104.0 again into floating value, right? Now these are floating point values. If I want to print something like this, want to print the statement like this, ठीक है ना? It says that unlimited. Okay, let me do something like this. So this is what it has. So it will print 40 degrees Celsius is equal to 104 degree Fahrenheit. This is what is printed. Okay. So this is the final target. Now if I don't use this conversions here, the conversion that I written here is like, I don't use this keyword str, what it will do, okay, how the system will respond. Let us see, this is the last step of this particular video. Let us remove this strs first and see how the system responds to the thing. So it give me an error, right? It give me an error. It says that unsupported operand types for plus, float and string. Okay, so what is doing here is this Celsius is a float and this Fahrenheit is a float. Okay, so I cannot add Celsius floating point value and a string value. I cannot use this addition, cannot do operate on these two different data types. Either these two data types should be same. So that's why we have used str in Celsius. I converted this float into string, Fahrenheit into string, and then string can be concatenated with this string can be concatenated with this string, and this string can be added up to this string. So we create one complete string. Okay, now if you want to do the same thing but without the strs, so what you need to do is you don't use plus now. Okay, you don't use plus. What you can use it, you can use comma. Instead of plus, you use comma operators. So it will do the same thing for you. Now you don't have to put strs. You can always use strings together. So it will give the same thing. Degree, 40 degrees Celsius is equal to 104 degree Fahrenheit. So if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable with using typecasting like this, you can use commas, Celsius, comma, the whatever string you want to write, then comma, whatever value you want to write, then again comma, whatever string you want to write. It will give the same result as you have seen above. So these are certain set of questions that you can practice on your own in your free time, and if you have any issues, you can post it in the comments, or you can come to me in the class on the lab and we can discuss. I hope that is clear. Thank you.